how do you pick the right tool for the job? So the right tool really depends on what you are building and what resources you have available at the time, because everything is going to be a trade-off. You're going to either have time available, you're going to have money available, you're going to have the energy to learn. So you have to consider those trade-offs before you even decide what the right tool is. Because if you have a lot of time and you can spend more time planning the perfect solution, then you can go do some research to find out what the best tool is. And that research is going to take you time. It's going to take you reading through documentation. It's going to take you going through and testing and comparing actual results that you've tried. So that's a very time consuming process. But if you don't have any time, if you're trying to build something out that needs to be deployed today or this week or this month, and you need to get it out, you might, and you have a lot of money, you can just hire someone who actually has those skills and that experience, and they can be the one that finds the best tool. But if you're looking at a project and the turnaround is very quick, then usually the best tool is the tool that can allow you to get started and get the problem solved the fastest. And that may not be the most efficient solution. But a lot of the times, if you can get far enough, if you get something out the door quick enough, then you can figure out how to optimize that solution later. So it's really not about picking the best tool, because you don't have to stick to that tool forever. You have to solve the problem today. And once it's in a stabilized status, once you have the solution and you have some documentation in place on what the solution took, once you have some, actual test results that say this is where I see a challenge with the current solution, and this is where I think it can be improved. Once you have that actual experience, then you can start looking at other tools that might be a better tool or the better solution, the best fit. But you don't want to spend too much time trying to find the best tool or the most perfect solution, because you're going to lose the opportunity that you had. Maybe that could have been losing a client or losing a early place in the market. If you spend too much time, you will lose that benefit that you could have had if you just moved a little bit faster. So a lot of the times, picking the best tool or picking the tool that solves the problem that you're experiencing right now, that fixes the pain, is going to be the thing that is worth focusing on over any other optimization that you could do. Because again, you can always adopt a better tool later once you have the resources available. Like recently, I was building a report for a client, and we're trying to track, or we're not even trying, we are tracking the remediation efforts for the application security program. There are too many vulnerabilities right now inside of their portfolio of applications to count. And a lot of those vulnerabilities are going to require significant efforts from our team to actually remediate. And so we've had to figure out how to prioritize those vulnerabilities to help give a more focused target to these teams. Some of that reporting that I'm building and generating is designed to help do just that. And I got an ask that was like, I need today to get some data. I need today, or I need some data available today to tell me what the status is on these applications. And honestly, I think the reporting part would be a lot easier with a tool like Power BI. But based on my own experience and familiarity, I actually chose Python as the tool to do most of the heavy lifting. And most of the heavy lifting being the processing, the cleaning of the data that I'm gathering, and then even in the enriching of that data, I'm doing with Python. But I defaulted to Excel for actually generating the reports, because Excel has pivot tables that just makes it easier to actually show the data that we're talking about, and divide it cleanly and in a well understood format. But once I have some time, probably sometime this week, because I have the process documented now on what data is necessary, uh what problems I've ran into gathering that data, and even where I'm getting the data from, what the actual target output needs to look like. I have all of that ready. So it's going to be much easier for me to go practice and play around with another tool to see how to get that tool to get the output that I want. But it's definitely a better tool because it can automate way more of the process. Today, I'm still needing to do some manual work to pull data from different sources because I haven't done that with Python. But and there are some like ownership access requirements that just are much easier to get done inside of the Microsoft ecosystem versus trying to build that uh, integration myself with Python. Access management is one of those real problems that are usually go wherever the access is easiest for you. But so far, the solution was the fastest thing, Python. But over time, the best long term solution is going to be something like Power BI because it automates more of the work. It makes it much easier to schedule the ongoing operations of generating that report. But again, I needed a few days to actually settle with the process, settle with what I needed in terms of context before I could go and implement the best tool for the job. Because again, the goal is to get far enough to buy yourself time so you can optimize later. And sometimes it's still going to be difficult if you don't ever get that downtime or that, a time available to actually go and solve some of your problems. But there's always a chance when you have something to work with to start.